That's cool. Towing the little trailer like that. I think that can be like a pop-up trailer. Oh, what a perfect day to ride. Holy crap. I can't believe it, man. It's summer, and it is amazing out. I love summer. Why can't it be summer all year round? You know, I've wondered that because, of course, I would choose this weather in a heartbeat. Nice, warm. It's about 88 degrees out, 85. No clouds in the sky. And so perfect for riding, perfect for hanging out outside in the shade. But I wonder if it was like this all year round, would you get sick of it? I don't know. I'd like to think I wouldn't, but I feel like that's kind of what happens to, you know, that whole too much of a good thing is not good. All right. What is going on, YouTube? How's it going, everybody? Thank you all for tuning on into the Evergreen Motovlog channel. It's just been a couple days since I've had a chance to test ride the Honda Rebel 1100, a 2023 model. So if you haven't checked out the video, go ahead and check it out. It'll be linked on up here. I wanted to hop on the motorcycle and give my thoughts a little bit about that experience and what I think of that bike overall. And stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to be answering whether or not I think I should trade my Rebel 500 in for a Honda Rebel 1100. So stick on around and let's get into it. Alright, so before I get into today's video, if you're new to the channel, thank you so much for stopping on by. If you like motorcycle content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. So dudes, I've got tons of content both on the channel and headed your way, so smash the notification bell for future uploads and or live streams. Either way, thank you for stopping on by and welcome to the Evergreen Motovlog channel. A couple days ago, I had the opportunity to go to one of my local dealerships and try out a new Honda Rebel 1100. Honestly, kind of just going into it, I knew it was going to be a cool bike. I knew I was going to have fun with it. Obviously, I knew there was going to be differences and it was going to be more powerful. But I really think that I wasn't prepared for what it was actually going to turn out to be. So what ended up happening is I had my expectations really blown out of the water because that bike is so cool, you know. It's really one of those things where until you've had the chance to get on it and ride it, you really can't totally know what the bike is going to be like and how it's going to handle and what the power is going to feel like and all that good stuff. And so that was what happened to me. So I went into it being like, yeah, this is going to be cool, but you know, I mean, how much different could it really be? And let me tell you, it was a lot different. And that really surprised me. Like, I was totally not expecting... Oh, gun itch. Alright, alright. Oh, first gear, first gear. Whew! Made it out alive. Yeah, I really wasn't expecting it to be so super different from the 500. And it really, honestly, in my opinion, was. And I only took it for a few miles, just kind of got my feet wet with it. I really didn't go crazy on it. I didn't, you know, get on the highway and go super fast and crank the throttle, and I didn't go for like 15 miles or anything like that. But the amount of time I had on the bike, I really think was enough time to get a good feel for it. And let me tell you, the Honda Rebel 1100 is an awesome motorcycle. I really think it should be almost put into a different class than the Rebel 500. It is a very different bike. The Rebel 300 and the Rebel 500, right? And so when you kind of compare those two, they really feel like they're the same bike minus the power difference. And obviously I knew that there were other differences from the 500 to the 1100, but I didn't really think of how much those differences would have an impact and how different things would feel. And so obviously, right, you've got the updated instrument cluster, which by the way is way brighter than the 500s. I had the sun shining directly on it and I could see it so much better than I can see this sometimes. Like even right now, it's, you know, the sun's kind of over to my left and behind me. It still is a little dim, even though I have it turned up all, you know, all the way on the brightness. The display is larger, it's definitely brighter, there's a lot more going on it. You've got all the riding modes, you've got the cool technology upgrades, cruise control, but the bike is just bigger, and I feel like when you're sitting on it, you feel like you have that larger presence on the road. And that's something that I kind of felt a little bit by riding a few of my other friends' bikes. But you know, the Rebel 500 is a relatively small motorcycle, and so getting onto that Rebel 1100, you know, it's like I'm stepping into my big boy motorcycle, you know. But that's kind of what it felt like. It really felt like I was getting onto a larger motorcycle that would have, you know, I would sit a little bit higher up and I would have more presence on the road, and it was great. And you know, there's some great stuff, like there's a larger gas tank. Oh man, I gotta get this itch. Holy crap. If I don't get this itch, I'm done for. There are a couple other things, right, that again, you can't really determine or accurately understand how the bike's gonna fit to you until you've actually sat on the bike and, you know, taken it for a test ride. And so things like the bars definitely sit higher. They are a decent amount farther out too. I really wasn't ready for how far out they were. I mean, I feel like, you know, I'm an average height kind of person, and they definitely were farther out, the reach. But just kind of going over some of the differences, I felt like the foot pegs sit farther forward, so it's not forward controls, but it's definitely a little bit, at least from what I could tell, because right, I rode my Rebel 500 to the dealership, took the 1100 on a test ride, and then got back on my 500. So I was getting kind of that real-time comparison between the two motorcycles, and so I felt like my feet sat farther forward, which was nice. I feel like it could be a little bit more comfortable. And one of the other things I noticed too is just the distance between where the seat height, or where the seat sits, and where, you know, the gas tank is, and then where your feet are. I feel like it's a taller bike. There's more width there. And so because of that, I felt like I had a little bit more room to kind of stretch out. And I thought that was a nice thing, that when you're just looking at the motorcycle online and watching YouTube content, you're really not going to get an idea of how it feels. And so that really surprised me, and that was something that I thought was cool. And I'm sure you've heard on the past, if you watch the channel, that, you know, I can get kind of sore after a while. I feel like my legs are tucked in a little bit. It's totally fine for, you know, that 1 to 2 hour time ride, but after a little while I do start to feel like I'm cramping up and I'm getting a little sore and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I mean, obviously I didn't get a chance to check out the Rebel 1100 for a longer ride, you know, longer term ride, but I really do feel like there would be a difference between the Rebel 500 and the 1100 in terms of my leg comfort. So that's awesome. Yeah, overall my experience was great. I mean, that power, wow. Night and day. And I rode it in sport mode, and it was just, yeah, it was so different. I mean, I really barely had to twist the throttle, and I felt like I was already kind of gripping a little bit harder to hold on. And if you really got on it, I would just see that speedometer numbers shoot way up. All of a sudden I'm like, holy crap, I'm going like 42. Wow. It's got a lot of power, got a lot of torque. The Rebel 500 is at 45 horsepower, and the Rebel 1100 is like 85 to 88, so it's almost double the power. And man, you really can tell that difference. I guess I didn't really think about what double the power really was going to feel like, but it was awesome. It felt great, and I feel like where the Rebel 500 kind of tops out at, the Rebel 1100 is just waking up, is probably how I would describe it. So the Rebel 500 is completely capable. You know, you can get up and go. It's a sportier type cruiser, but when you're cruising along at 75 miles an hour, you can definitely, you know, drop a gear and get around somebody. You do have enough room in the RPMs, but you're definitely ringing it out, and you're not getting around something really quickly. Whereas I feel like with the Rebel 1100, I think you could just really zip around stuff at speed. You know, obviously it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun coming out of turns and, you know, getting up to speed and all that kind of stuff. So lots of cool things in terms of power. Overall, like I said, I would give the bike a really positive review, a lot of positive feedback. Again, thank you so much to the dealership for letting me take it on a test ride. It was an extremely positive experience, and like I said, it really just blew me out of the water. I honestly feel like I was going into it with a certain expectation of like, yeah, it's gonna be a cool bike, but is it really going to be significantly cooler than the Rebel 500? I definitely think it's a really, really cool motorcycle. And I mean, obviously it's a different class of bike. I think it is something that would work for a little bit more of an experienced rider, especially in sport mode. I think a lot of new riders would probably be intimidated to ride the 1100 in sport mode like that, because there's a lot of power at your fingertips, and you know, as you add power, your stopping distance shortens and your reaction time needs to be faster. Do I think somebody could start in a Rebel 1100? Maybe. I would probably need to own one and ride it in rain mode for an extended amount of time to see if I really would think that would work. But honestly, I felt like the 500 was a perfect motorcycle to start on and is a perfect bike to continue riding. I actually think even in those lower gears and the lower RPMs, it was a little twitchy. You know, it would take some getting used to for sure. But that's okay, you know, that's what the fun of owning a motorcycle is learning how to use it and enjoy it and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, no, it blew my expectations out. I was not expecting it to be that fun. Getting on it was like when I got on my 500 the first time, I was like, ooh, holy crap, new motorcycle, this is sweet. So yeah, no, I really had a good experience with it, and that leads me to my next question, and I'm going to split it out into two questions. So question number one, would I own a Rebel 1100? And I think the answer is yes. Actually, I know the answer is yes. I definitely would own a Rebel 1100. I think that would be a super fun bike. When I walked in, I know, again, this is probably some kind of sales tactic, but one of the salespeople walked up and was like, that's the most fun cruiser I've ever ridden. And part of it's because of the mid controls and the stance and all of that kind of good stuff. But I think he's not wrong. I think it probably is one of the best cruisers that you can own out there. I feel like the Rebel 1100 might be a little bit comparable to the Indian Scout, and then maybe, you know, I haven't really had any experience with that bike, or the Harley Davidson Nightster, but I feel like those are kind of in that class. It's kind of that like next step bike, close to 1,000cc or a little over. You know, when it comes to price, the Rebel 1100 blows those two out of the water. I mean, it's $9,400. It's under $10,000. You can get a 1,000cc motorcycle that is quick and comfortable and has cruise control and riding modes and all the good stuff that the 1100 carries. I think that's really cool. I think that's a really good price point from Honda. So the second question is, would I trade my 500 in for the 1100? Well, I mean, honestly, I might do it. I don't know. I think in general, I think a lot of people do go that route, and I think it's a great way to go. And I've been asking myself the last 48 hours or so if I really want to do that, if I want to trade this 500 in for the 1100, because I had such a great experience on it. And I really feel like, you know, it is a different motorcycle. I mean, it's the same and it's got a lot of familiarity, but at the same time, it's also different based on some of those factors I mentioned. And yeah, I think you could have a lot of fun with it, but I don't think I'm ready to do that just yet. I still got some content I want to film on the 500, but the 1100 is definitely a contender for sure. I've got some other bikes I want to test ride. Hopefully I'll be doing those videos shortly. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the Rebel 1100. And yeah, if you think it's a cool motorcycle, if you think it's different enough, or if you think Honda should have done some other things to make it a little more different. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you all for stopping on by. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And this is the Evergreen Motovlog channel, reminding y'all to ride safe out there. Mind your surroundings. And I'll catch you all on the next one. Rolling on up to the gas station. Alright. Love y'all. Peace.